There was a time when Tyler Perry was living in his car, using every dollar he had to fund small theater shows and rundown menus. Now he owns a movie studio larger than Warner Brothers and has a net worth in the billions. This is the real story of how Perry built his empire and what his billionaire life looks like today. Tyler Perry didn't ease his way into success. He clawed his way in. In the early 90s, he was broke, sleeping in his car and putting every dollar he could scrape together into stage plays that nobody came to see. He kept going, even when it made no financial sense. For 6 years, I Know I've Been Changed struggled to catch on. Then in 1998, something finally clicked. A small but enthusiastic crowd in Atlanta turned into sold-out shows. Word spread fast. What had once been a one-man gamble turned into a touring machine. Perry didn't stop with theater. He saw that his audience, mostly black, often underserved by Hollywood, wanted more stories that felt like theirs. So he wrote them. Diary of a Mad Black Woman hit theaters in 2005 and brought in over $50 million. This wasn't luck. That was years of knowing his audience and betting on his voice when no one else could. He used his profits to keep full control. No studio overhead, no board to answer to. He built Tyler Perry Studio from the ground up, eventually creating a production campus in Atlanta that rivals anything in Los Angeles. That move didn't just create jobs, it gave him total ownership, from script to screen. What started in a geo metro became a billion-dollar empire, and through all of it, Perry never waited for permission. He made space where there wasn't any and invited everyone who'd been overlooked to take a seat. Tyler Perry's Atlanta estate isn't just big, it is its own world, built on over 1,200 acres just outside the city. The property includes everything from a private airstrip to multiple guest homes and a massive garage packed with vehicles. The main house alone stretches more than 35,000 square feet. That's not counting the separate structures scattered across the land, including a full organic farm. According to reports, the land and construction together cost over $100 million, though Perry has never been the type to brag about price tags. What matters more to him is control. He said in interviews that owning his space on his terms matters more than anything else. This estate gives him just that. It's secluded, secure, and built exactly how he wanted. From the curved stone driveways to the tall iron gates, every detail says this is a place for someone who's built his success quietly but deliberately. There is no Hollywood chaos here, no random paparazzi. You don't stumble onto Perry's house, you're invited. It also reflects his personality, private, focused, and self-sufficient. Everything he needs is on the property, including space to write, rehearse, and reset. It's not the kind of a luxury that screams for attention. It's the kind that works quietly in the background, letting him move at his own pace. But even a house that size isn't enough when you also need room to film movies. When Tyler Perry opened his studio in 2019, it wasn't just about having a place to shoot films. He took over a 330-acre former Confederate Army base in Atlanta and turned it into one of the largest film studios in the country, bigger than anything Disney or Warner Brothers currently operate in terms of sheer land size. The choice of location mattered. A site once used to enforce the vision now tells stories through a lens that centers black voices, black talent, and black ownership. Tyler Perry's studio isn't a vanity project. It's fully functional and active. With 12 sound stages, historic buildings converted into filming locations, and even a life-size replica of the White House. It's where Black Panther filmed some of its scenes. Coming to America used it too. And it's not just his own productions. The studio rents out space to others, becoming a key part of Georgia's growing film industry. But beyond what's on screen, the studio represents something harder to define but easy to feel: control. Perry built this without major studio backing. He writes, produces, and finances his own projects. He owns the land, he owns the work. So when films or TV shows come out of his studio, they're not filtered through executives or gatekeepers. That's what makes Tyler Perry Studios stand out. It's more than infrastructure. It's proof that ownership at scale is possible, even in an industry that rarely hands out that kind of power without conditions. Tyler Perry didn't wait for Hollywood to hand him anything. He built his own system. From the start, he kept control over what he created, whether it was his stage plays, his sitcoms like House of Pain, or his Medea films. Perry stayed in charge of the scripts, the production, and the business deals. That choice wasn't just about pride, it turned out to be incredibly smart financially. While most creators sell rights to studios or networks, Perry kept his, so every time a movie aired, a DVD sold, or a show was syndicated, he got paid directly. The Medea franchise alone has made him over $600 million. It started with live theater, moved into film, and eventually branched out into merchandise and digital streaming. He later signed a deal with Viacom-CBS to produce content for BET and launch BET Plus, where he maintains creative control and a share of the profits. It's not just about upfront checks, it's long-term money that keeps coming in. He's often compared to people like George Lucas, who kept the rights to Star Wars and built a fortune from licensing and merchandising. Perry did something similar, just without the sci-fi or action figures. His empire is built on black families, southern humor, and stories Hollywood often ignored. That kind of ownership is rare, especially for someone outside the traditional studio system. Perry didn't just write characters, he turned them into assets, and when the money started pouring in, Perry didn't hesitate to enjoy some of it. Tyler Perry's Gulfstream 3 isn't just a luxury, it's part of how he works and how he gives. The plane, which is worth about $20 million, has been fully outfitted to fit his needs. It includes a small screening room so he can watch footage or make edits mid-flight, keeping projects moving even when he's in the air. For someone who wears so many hats, writer, director, producer, being able to work from anywhere isn't a perk, it's practical. But Perry's jet isn't only used for business or personal travel. He has used it for things that have nothing to do with Hollywood. After Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico in 2017, Perry sent aid on his plane, water, food, and other essential supplies. In 2018, when Bahamas residents were hit by Hurricane Dorian, he used the jet again to deliver help directly to those affected. It's a part of his life that doesn't always make headlines, but it's consistent with how he moves, quietly, efficiently, and with purpose. He's also used the plane to assist with evacuations, including flying a young girl with cancer to safety from the island during the hurricane crisis. These aren't public stunts, most of them only come out after someone else mentions it. For Perry, having a jet means more than skipping TSA lines. It's about freedom and reach. Whether it's rushing between productions or reaching people in trouble, the jet lets him be in control of his time and how he uses it. Tyler Perry doesn't just talk about helping people, he actually does it, and often without cameras rolling. When winter storms hit Texas in 2021 and left millions without power, Perry donated $1 million to relief efforts, helping fund food, water, and shelter. That same year, he personally paid funeral costs for the families of Rayshawn Brooks and Sequoia Turner in Atlanta, along with an 8-year-old girl killed in a shooting. He didn't announce it with a press release. The families confirmed it later. In 2020, when the pandemic had restaurant staff struggling to stay afloat, Perry left $500 tips for every server at a Houston's restaurant in Atlanta. He's also paid grocery bills for thousands of senior citizens during lockdowns and quietly funds scholarships for students who never expected a check with his name on it. His shelter for survivors of domestic abuse isn't just a donation. It's a physical place built with long-term safety in mind. Located in Atlanta, the shelter was created to provide more than a bed. It gives legal resources, counseling, and protection. What sets Perry apart is how personal his giving feels. He often steps in during the quiet in-between moments, when a family is grieving or a city is in shock, and he just does what's needed. No viral campaigns, no staged photos, no PR angle. That kind of direct help says a lot about who he is off camera. While generosity is a big part of his life, Perry still surrounds himself with a bit of Hollywood flash. Tyler Perry doesn't show off, but when he does spend, he spends with intention. He's been seen driving cars like the Bentley Muslane and the Rolls-Royce Wraith, vehicles known more for their quiet power and smooth ride than for flashy appeal. These aren't cars you buy to stunt outside a club. They're built for comfort and control, which lines up with how Perry carries himself. It's not about turning heads, It's about moving the way he wants, when he wants. His clothing follows the same logic. Perry prefers sharp, tailored suits that fit well and speak without shouting. You won't catch him in over-the-top logos or wild colors. But the craftsmanship is there. He's been seen wearing watches from brands like Patek Philippe, pieces that hold value and tradition. They don't scream money, but they're unmistakable to anyone who knows what they're looking at. He's also picked up some custom items over the years, not for collection's sake, but because he enjoys the process of choosing exactly what he wants. He's not the type to show off a garage full of supercars on Instagram or talk endlessly about watches in interviews. But the quality is always there, just understated. What ties it all together is his sense of control. Whether it's the cut of a jacket or the feel of a steering wheel, Perry chooses things that reflect how far he's come. Quiet confidence over flash, substance over noise. It's luxury but on his terms. Tyler Perry didn't just find success in Hollywood. He created a space of his own when he realized the industry wasn't going to hand him one. In 2019, when he opened Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta, it made him the first black person to own a major film studio outright. And it wasn't a symbolic title. He built it from the ground up. That fact alone felt like a quiet message. This space now belongs to new stories, told by people who were once shut out of the system. Through his studio, Perry has given hundreds of black writers, directors, actors, and crew members consistent work in an industry where stability can be hard to come by. People like Crystal Fox and KJ Smith, who were relatively unknown before working with Perry, to bigger opportunities thanks to the exposure and experience his productions provide. He's known for hiring people not just for one gig, but again and again, building careers, not just moments. His work has been honored by institutions like the NAACP, BET, and even the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, where he received the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award. Still, Perry doesn't position himself as Hollywood royalty. He stays based in Atlanta, keeps his circle tight, and focuses on telling stories that reflect real black families, ones that rarely make it into the big studios. And behind all the productions and awards, there is a tight circle that's been with him from the start. Tyler Perry doesn't put much of his personal life on display, and that's on purpose. He's talked about being a father to his son, a man whom he shares with Galila Bekele. But he keeps those details close. What he has shared is how fatherhood shifted everything, how it made him think differently about time, legacy, and what matters when the cameras are off. His priorities got sharper. Faith has always been at the core of his work and life. His earliest plays were staged in churches, rooted in the kinds of stories familiar to Sunday morning sermons. Even now, his films often reflect that foundation. Spiritual themes, redemption arcs, characters finding strength in belief. It's not something he puts on for the audience. It's how he was raised, and it stayed with him. As for Friends, the headlines point to Oprah and Gayle King, and yes, they're close. But Perry's real day-to-day circle isn't built on fame. It's made up of people who knew him when he was broke, struggling, and trying to get someone to show up to a play. Those are the people he still leans on. The ones who don't care about premieres or numbers, just whether he's doing okay. That's who he keeps around. Tyler Perry's path to becoming a billionaire looks nothing like the usual blueprint. He didn't launch a startup or cash in on stock options. He didn't inherit a business empire or come out of Silicon Valley. He wrote plays, he told stories about families, forgiveness, and faith, stories that mainstream Hollywood ignored. But black audiences lined up to see. That consistency, more than anything else, built his fortune. Compared to someone like Elon Musk, who thrives on chaos and massive ambition, Perry runs quiet. Musk talks about colonizing Mars. Perry focuses on building sustainable careers for people in his orbit. Jeff Bezos turned Amazon into a global giant with warehouses and logistics. Perry built a studio in Atlanta and made it profitable by keeping costs low and ownership high. Even when you look at someone like Jay-Z, who moved into liquor, sports management, and streaming, Perry's moves are simpler. He's stuck with storytelling. No splashy acquisitions, no wild branding shifts, just more films, more shows, more tickets sold. And unlike Kanye West, whose business highs often come with public fallout, Perry's name rarely surfaces in controversy. No scandals, no lawsuits making headlines, no social media time. No social media flameouts. He's not chasing buzz, he's just working. In a world where most billionaire stories involve massive disruption or viral fame, Perry's is built on something harder to copy: discipline. He figured out what worked, stuck with it, and stayed focused. And through all of that, Perry's not just thinking about wealth today, but the legacy he leaves behind. Perry's not just thinking about the next movie or show, he's thinking about what's still standing when he's not around to direct it. He's made it clear he wants Tyler Perry Studios to become more than a place where he tells stories. It's meant to be a launchpad for others, especially creators who've been shut out of traditional Hollywood doors. That's why he has invested in infrastructure that goes beyond sound stages and scripts. On part of the studio's land, he's building a shelter and support center for displaced women and LGBTQ youth. It's not an add-on, it's woven into the same space that produces film and television. That decision says a lot about how Perry sees his legacy. It's not just about putting his name on buildings or having people remember him. It's about using his success to create safety and opportunity where it's most needed. He's also been stepping back from the spotlight more often, producing shows and movies that don't feature him on screen. He's funding and guiding other writers, helping them find an audience without having to fight the same uphill battles he did. Shows like Ruthless and Brawl reflects this shift. Perry is still involved, but he's letting new voices carry the story forward. To him, legacy isn't about staying at the center of attention. It's about making sure the path stays open behind him, and maybe even a little wider than when he first found it. Would you trade comfort for control, like Perry did? Leave your thoughts in the comments.